Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 10 a.m. I've confirmed with the Company Secretary that we have a quorum of members and declare this annual general meeting of shareholders of FirstWave Technology Limited open. My name's John Grant and I'm the Non-Executive Chairman of FirstWave Cloud Technology Limited and Chairman of today's meeting. Welcome everyone, particularly those who've been able to join us face-to-face, the volumes of people. It's been a long time between drinks, so to say. I'm a huge advocate of AGMs that put directors and management face-to-face with shareholders. Operating a company on behalf of shareholders is never more real than when those shareholders become real people with their real money invested in their company. It's not to say we'll meet every expectation, but it does drive the reality of our responsibilities home. I'm joined online by FirstWave's Managing Director and CEO, Danny Ma, who has unfortunately tested positive for COVID since his return from visiting our customers and our team members in Mexico, and in person by our fellow directors, Paul McRae to my right and David Huang to his right, and Ray Kiley on my left, and FirstWave CFO and Company Secretary Ian Bartram. Also with us today is Kiley Chan from Grant Thornton, the company's auditor, who has joined us online. He's available to answer questions that are relevant to the contents of the auditor's report and the financial reports and statements. As today's meeting is being conducted as a hybrid meeting, I would like to welcome those shareholders that are joining via Zoom. The virtual component of this meeting being held via Automic's online meeting platform. This platform allows shareholders and proxy holders to participate in this live webcast, as well as ask questions and submit votes. The minutes of the previous AGM have been approved by the board and are available for inspection by contacting the company secretary. The order of meeting, which you can see in front of you now, allows me to provide an explanation of how shareholders can ask questions and vote on the resolutions. It also allows both Danny and me to offer you some comments on the FY22 year and events post June 30 and how they play into FY23. But given we report in detail to shareholders each quarter, we're very conscious of repetition, so our comments will be brief. We're more interested in engaging with our shareholders' observations and questions. For ease of reference, this presentation and Danny and my remarks have been lodged on the ASX website before the meeting. I'll then turn to the formal aspects of the meeting and we'll read through all the items of business and resolutions that are to be put to shareholders and the proxy numbers that have been received prior to the meeting. I'll respond to questions after I've completed running through all items. Firstly, in relation to questions, for shareholders physically here with us, questions can be asked by raising your hand at the end of mine and Danny's comments or after all the resolutions are read. Please identify yourself and tell us your shareholding SRN or HRN, or if not a direct shareholder, the organisation you represent. For online attendees, questions can be submitted at any time. To ask a question, press on the Q&A icon. This will open a new screen. At the bottom of that screen, there's a section for you to type your question. Please start your question by typing your shareholder SRN or HIN to allow the moderator to identify you as a shareholder, or if you are not a shareholder, the organisation you represent. If you'd like to ask your question verbally, just type your SRN or HIN and then type I'd like to speak. Once you've finally finished typing, please hit the enter on your keyboard to send it. Please note that if there are multiple questions from shareholders on one topic, they'll be amalgamated by our Company Secretary, Ian Bartram, who will be acting as moderator. I'll hand over to Ian at the appropriate times to read out the questions. It could be that we run out of time to answer all your questions, and if this happens, we'll answer them via email and posting responses on the website. And secondly, in relation to voting, information on how to vote is outlined in the registration and voting guide, a link to which is provided in the notice of meeting. Voting will be conducted by way of a poll on all items. Shareholders attending online that have not submitted a vote by proxy and wish to vote on the resolutions being put to the meeting can do so by registering your shareholding with Automic. Instructions on how to do that were provided in the notice of meeting and can also be seen on the screen. At any time, as I'm running through the resolutions and proxy votes, you can lodge your vote and any questions on any resolution through the portal. Those shareholders here with us that are entitled to vote on the poll are all shareholders, representatives and attorneys of shareholders and proxy holders who hold yellow voting cards. If you're attending in more than one of those capacities, you'll have been issued with as many voting cards as you have separate capacities. If anyone believes they're entitled to vote on this poll at any capacity does not have a yellow voting card in respect of that, please raise your hand now and a member of the share registry team will assist you. At the appropriate time, I will ask that you mark your vote for the resolution on the yellow voting card. And if you are a shareholder and wish to cast all of your votes for a resolution, please mark in either the for, against or abstain box next to that resolution. If you wish to split your votes, please write the number or portion of votes you wish to cast in the corresponding for, against or abstain boxes. Please note that the sum of split votes must equal your total holding. If you're a proxy holder, a summary of all the votes to which you're entitled has been attached to the voting card. Summary of votes includes discretionary votes that are yours. These are yours to cast at your discretion. If you wish to cast the discretionary votes, again, please mark a place on the corresponding for, against, or abstain boxes. If your summary of votes does not have any discretionary votes, you do not need to mark your voting card and will simply hand it to the returning officer at the end of the resolutions. Once I've read through all the resolutions, our company secretary will have received all your questions and I'll address each of them in order. After questions have been answered, I'll give shareholders time to finalise their voting and will then close the voting. And at this point, I'll ask all shareholders physically here to place their voting card in one of the ballot boxes that will be circulating the room. To provide you with enough time to vote, I'll shortly open voting for all resolutions. You can change your vote on any item at any time up until the time I declare voting closed. I now declare voting open on all items of business. I provide ample notice prior to the close of voting. Please submit your votes at any time on any item. With the exclusion of those items that are a conflict for directors, your board strongly recommends that you vote for all resolutions. The notice of meeting was made available to all shareholders as required by the Corporations Act on the 24th of October, and unless there are any objections, I'll take that notice as read. All undirected proxies or open votes that have nominated the chairman of the meeting as their proxy will be cast in favour of all resolutions as stipulated in the notice of annual general meeting. I appoint Jordan Foster, who's with us at present, and Amy Wong of Atomic Proprietary Limited, the company's share registry, who have examined and prepared summaries of the proxy forms received to act as returning officers and conduct the poll. Once again, remember you can vote and ask questions at any time on any item until I formally close the voting. Let me now offer you my comments before I turn over to Danny. So two things stand out for me as the most material in financial year 22. Firstly, clearly, the acquisition of Opmentech via the issue of FirstWave shares and the $14 million capital raise to provide growth capital. Completed in early January this year, the acquisition delivered many things that have entirely transformed FirstWave. New software complementary to FirstWave's Cybercision, doubling the current portfolio. Opmentech's network management and information system, affectionately known as NMIS, and open audit. A new channel to market within the US and Latin America, the opportunity to merge the two businesses to significantly reduce operating costs, a new CEO, managing director and major shareholder in Danny Ma, and an additional non-executive director in Ray Kiley. And secondly, underpinning sustainability of a significant part of FirstWave's revenue, in March, we extended our contract with Telstra for an additional 2 years with a further 2-year option at Telstra's discretion and expanded its scope to include additional cybersecurity services provided through FirstWave's Cybercision platform. As a result of a huge effort on the part of the merged business's whole team, led by Danny, at the end of Q1 FY23, the company had normalised cash burn down from $1 million per month to $500,000, cash on hand of $8.57 million and annualised recurring revenue of $9.71 million. To put that in another way, at the end of Q1, the company was burning half the cash and generating twice the profit compared to the period pre the acquisition of Opmentech. The FY23 year shows more promise, revenue growth at higher margins and lower costs than any in the past. But as we all appreciate, the challenge for the management team under Danny is to realise this promise. With that, let me hand over to Danny. Over to you, Danny.
Thanks, John. And I can reinforce and support the comments that John has made. For those who attended the most recent quarterly update, you will be largely up to date, of course. And at each of my presentations, you'll start to see that I like to reiterate our guiding strategic principles, which were announced in July of this year. And they are operate with a sales-led culture, grow faster, i.e. grow revenues faster, and be capital efficient. Okay, so everything we do aligns with one of those three principles. I'd like to give you a quick update on our key sales initiatives. So a commercial agreement has been reached to launch a secure, sovereign, ISM compliant email platform for Australian government and large enterprise. This was a strategic initiative for us, which we're really pleased to have signed. As John said, the Telstra relationship has been reinforced, including direct engagement with their sales teams, collaborative sales planning with agreed targets being established, new marketing initiatives and continued work on new initiatives with the product team, of course. We have a diversified pipeline which provides multiple paths to success, which is very pleasing for me. And we still have 2 highly significant deals, which I've mentioned previously in North America, both of which continue to progress. Closing either one of those would be fantastic for us. The focusing of our sales efforts continues to be with service providers who are our main clients. And we're also focusing our strongest markets, which are USA, Australia, and Latin America. We're focusing on our highest margin products, which are email security and network management. And I'm also pleased to have strengthened the sales team. We have a new North American sales director, James Morzalewski, who commenced on September 26, joining us from SolarWinds. So very happy to have James on board. We have a new Chief Revenue Officer, Dino Devanzo, who joined us from HP on November the 2nd here in Sydney. So he joins our exec team in Sydney as CRO, which is also exciting for us. We launched a 1 brand strategy, including the launch of a consolidated brand under FirstWave.com. Which will see the retirement of the Opmantec brand over time. So to summarize our current position, our cash burn continues to reduce. We have double the gross profit with lower OPEX than pre the Opmantec acquisition. Okay, so our actual real OPEX is lower, and yet our GP is double. The company is delivering on its goals. We are strengthening quarter on quarter, and that will continue. And we have a very exciting and growing diversified pipeline. So for me as CEO and MD, I'm very happy where we're positioned. So 3, 2, 1, liftoff. So just a little bit of nice geeky news before I hand back to John. Many of you will know that our software was licensed by NASA to support the Artemis missions. Well, Artemis 1 launched on 16th of November. And it was spectacular for anyone that watched it. It was very cool. And for an Australian tech company like ourselves to be involved, we were glued to it, and a lot of FirstWave staff were glued to it. So we look forward to supporting this mission further. And I'll say it shows that we're not just the top of our world, but the top of the next, which is cool for a tech company. So with that, let me now hand back to John.
Thanks, Danny. That concludes both my and Danny's comments. Are there any questions either from here in the room or online? I'll keep an eye on questions from the attendees here, and Ian, I'll keep an eye on questions from the online.
No questions online.
No questions online, no questions from here. Searching. Okay, there's no further questions. Let's now turn to the first item of business, the financial statements and directors' and auditors' reports. The accounts for the year to 30 June 2022 and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon have been distributed to members who requested a copy and been made available on the company's website. I now table those documents on which a resolution is not required. Stated earlier, the auditors are available to answer any questions shareholders may have. For online shareholders, please enter any questions you have on the reports via the Zoom Q&A, and we'll handle them and any questions from our attendees at the end. Let's now move to the resolutions. Resolution 1 is the adoption of the company's remuneration report for the year ended 30th of June 2022. As you'll be aware, the Corporations Act requires that a resolution be put to members to adopt the remuneration report. This is set out on pages 7 to 25 of the company's annual report. While the vote on this resolution is advisory only and non-binding on the directors of the company, it gives members the opportunity to ask questions or make comments concerning remuneration. The outcome of the vote will be taken into consideration when reviewing remuneration practices and policies. Under the Corporations Act, if 25% or more of votes are cast against the adoption of the REM report at 2 consecutive AGMs, shareholders will be required to vote at the second of those AGMs on a spill motion that another meeting be held within 90 days at which all the company's directors must go up for re-election. Corporations Act imposes restrictions on directors and other key management personnel of the company and their closely related parties from voting in any capacity on this resolution. This restriction does not apply if the person who is voting, including the chairman, has been appointed as a proxy. Where I, as chairman, have been appointed as a proxy, I will be voting any open proxies in favour of Resolution 1. Proxies received for Resolution 1 are now shown on the slide. You can now vote for Resolution 1. Those physically in attendance, please mark your voting instruction on your yellow voting card. Those attending virtually can vote via the online portal. However, are reminded not to click on Next until you have selected your vote for all resolutions. As the next resolution relates to me, I'll now hand the chair of the meeting to Paul McRae, who's FirstWave's chair of the Remuneration and Nominations Committee. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, John. Resolution 2 relates to the re-election of John Grant as a director
as an ordinary resolution. John has an extensive career spanning technology, engineering, construction and sports administration. He has held leadership positions, including Managing Director and CEO of ASX listed Data3 and inaugural Chair of the Australian Rugby League Commission. He is currently a non-executive director of UniQuest Proprietary Limited and Inspect Real Estate. He has also chaired or been a member of various industry and government advisory groups and industry associations. I will now read the resolution. That John Grant, a director who retires by rotation in accordance with the company's constitution and ASX listing rule 14.5, and being eligible, offers himself for re-election as a director of the company effective immediately. The proxies received for resolution 2 are now shown on the slide. You can now vote for resolution 2 either using your yellow voting card or via the online portal. I'll now hand back to John.
Thanks, Paul. And thank you very much for your support, shareholders who voted by proxy too. It's always pleasing to get a solid level of support. This company, as we all know, has been through a pretty interesting journey. So we're still here batting for you. Resolution 3 is the election of Ray Kiley as the director as an ordinary resolution. Ray joined the company as a non-exec director in January with the acquisition of Opmantech. He's a passionate leader and truly cares about giving clients, customers and the community exceptional service and respect. His experience as a senior leader is evident and well respected by all those he comes into contact with. He looks to grow our commercial understanding and ability to manage large-scale, complex corporate relationships. He's previously with Telstra, which is why he's able to do that. I'll now read the resolution. That Raymond, Kiley, a director appointed as an additional director and holding office until the next general meeting of the company after his appointment in accordance with the company's constitution and ASX listing rule 14.4, be elected as a director of the company effective immediately. Proxies received for resolution 3 are now shown on the slide, and you can now vote by using your yellow voting card or via the online portal. Resolution 4 is the ASX listing rule 7.1A, approval of future issue of securities. The purpose of this resolution is to ensure the company can issue equity securities under the 10% placement facility. Resolution 4 is a special resolution and therefore requires approval of 75% of the votes cast. If resolution 4 is passed, the company will be able to use equity securities up to the combined 25% limit in listing rule 7.1 and 7.1A without any further shareholder approval. I'll now read that resolution that for the purposes of ASX listing rule 7.1A and for all other purposes, the shareholders approve the issue of equity securities up to 10% of the issued capital of the company at the time of issue, calculated in accordance with the formula prescribed in ASX listing rule 7.1A.2 and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement which accompanies forms part of the notice of meeting. Let me also detail the voting exclusion statement. The company will disregard any votes cast in favour of resolution 4 by or on behalf of, firstly, a person who is expected to participate in or who will obtain a material benefit as a result of the proposal, except a benefit solely by reason of being a holder of ordinary securities, or secondly, an associate of that person or those persons. However, this does not apply to a vote cast in favour of resolution by, firstly, a person as proxy or attorney for a person who is entitled to vote on the resolution, or the chair of the meeting as proxy or attorney for a person who is entitled to vote on the resolution, or thirdly, a holder acting solely in a nominee, trustee, custodial or other fiduciary capacity on behalf of the beneficiary, provided the following conditions are met. A, the beneficiary provides written confirmation to the holder that the beneficiary is not excluded from voting and is not a person associate of a person excluded from voting on the resolution. And B, the holder votes on the resolution in accordance with directions given by the beneficiary to the holder to vote in that way. The proxies received for resolution 4 are now shown on the slide, and you can cast your vote again using the yellow voting card or via the online portal. Resolution 5 is the appointment of the auditor. It's an ordinary resolution. It says that subject to the consent of the Australian Securities Investment Commission, the resignation of the current auditor of the company to appoint PKF Brisbane Audit, having consented in writing and being duly nominated in accordance with section 328B(1) of the Corporations Act 2001 as auditor of the company effective immediately. The proxies for resolution 5 are now shown on the slide, and you can now vote for resolution 5 in the normal way. I'm now going to deal with resolutions 6 to 11 relating to the issue of either service rights or share appreciation rights to directors of the company. Let me assure you that the service and share appreciation rights proposed in these resolutions represent value for shareholders in two ways. Firstly, the company's cash has been preserved, with Danny foregoing cash payment for his short-term incentive, replacing them with share appreciation rights. Ray Kiley foregoing cash payment for his director's fees, replacing them with service rights, and all other directors foregoing any increase in fees which have not been changed since the listing, replacing them with share appreciation rights. And secondly, share appreciation rights are only of benefit to directors when the share price increases, delivering the same benefit to all shareholders. So resolution 6 is approval of the issue of share appreciation rights to Danny Ma, Managing Director of the company. It's an ordinary resolution. And it says that for the purpose of section 208 of the Corporations Act, ASX Listing Rule 10.11, and for all other purposes, the shareholders of the company approve the issue and allotment of 11 million share appreciation rights or SARs to Danny or his nominees, the Managing Director of the company, and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement, which accompanies and forms part of the notice of meeting. Proxies received for resolution 6 are now shown on the slide. You can now vote for resolution 6, either using the yellow voting card here or via the online portal. As the next resolution relates to me, I'll now hand the chair of the meeting back to Paul.
Thank you, John. Resolution 7 is the approval of the issue of share appreciation rights to John Grant, a director of the company, as an ordinary resolution. I will now read the resolution. That for the purposes of section 208 of the Corporations Act, ASX Listing Rule 10.11, and for all other purposes, the shareholders of the company approve the issue and allotment of 3,600,000 SARs to John Grant or his nominees, a director of the company, and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement, which accompanies and forms part of the notice of meeting. The proxies received for resolution 7 are now shown on the slide. You can now vote for resolution 7, either using your yellow voting card or via the online portal. I will now hand the meeting back to John. Thank you.
Thanks again, Paul, and thanks again to shareholders who voted on this. I'm very taken by the percentages in favour. Thank you very much. Resolution 8, the approval of issue of share appreciation rights to Paul McRae, the director of the company, as an ordinary resolution. I'll now read the resolution that for the purposes of section 208 of the Corporations Act, ASX Listing Rule 10.11, and for all other purposes, the shareholders of the company approve the issue and allotment of 1.8 million SARs to Paul or his nominees, and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement accompanying the notice of meeting. The proxies received for resolution 8 are now shown on the slide, and you can now vote for resolution 8. Moving on to resolution 9, which is the approval of issue of share appreciation rights to Ray Kiley, a director of the company. I'll now read the resolution. Again, for purposes of section 208 of the Corporations Act and ASX Listing Rule 10.11, shareholders of the company approve the issue and allotment of 1.8 million SARs to Ray or his nominees, the director of the company, and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement. Proxies received for resolution 9 are now shown on the slide, and you can now vote. Resolution 10, approval of the issue of share appreciation rights to David Wang, a director of the company. Now read the resolution that for the purposes of section 208 of the Corporations Act, ASX Listing Rule 10.11, shareholders of the company approve the issue and allotment of 1.8 million SARs to David or his nominees, and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement. Proxies registered for resolution 10 are now shown on the slide, and you can vote again by your yellow card here or via the online portal. Resolution 11, approval of issue of service rights to Ray Kiley, director of the company. The resolution says that for the purposes of ASX Listing Rule 10.11 and for all other purposes, the shareholders of the company approve the issue and allotment of 438,730 service rights, remembering that this was in lieu of a director's fees, to Ray Kiley or his nominees, the director of the company, and otherwise on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory statement. Proxies received for resolution 11 are now shown on the slide, and you can vote using the yellow voting card or via the online portal. That completes reading of the resolution. Shareholders are reminded that except for where a resolution concerns a particular director, your board unanimously recommends that you vote for all resolutions. I'll now address any questions that have been lodged by attendees. Ian, have you got anything on the company's financial statements and reports?
No.
Okay, moving on to the resolutions. Anything on resolution 1?
No.
And on resolution 2?
No.
And on resolution 3?
No. No questions.
No questions. No questions at all.
We have a question in from Roger Allen on the general presentation, which came in just after we started the resolutions,
Okay.
which I presume we'll deal with at the end.
We'll deal with that at the end.
No questions on the resolutions.
Okay, thank you. No questions on the resolution. So can we deal with that question now?
Roger has asked, well, Roger and Alexander, I think, are logged in together. Given what happened with Optus on email security, why hasn't Telstra, together with FCT, been all over this with a media and marketing push?
So I'm assuming that's for me, John.
Yes, Danny, that'll be for you.
Okay. Thanks, Roger and Alex. And I saw the question come in, so I quickly made a couple of notes. So thanks for typing it early. First, it is a large and very visible incident, and FirstWave ran directly an advertorial in the Financial Review. We put out several media and social releases, but the reality is we, as FirstWave, does not have a direct-to-market product in Australia. It's under a Telstra brand, and it's from Telstra. So our brand is quite hidden here in Australia, which is something we're looking at. Because we have this strategic and important relationship with Telstra, obviously that relationship comes with positives and negatives. It's a package deal, but it's overwhelmingly positive for us. So of course we're overwhelmingly in support of that relationship. FirstWave can't market the Telstra solution. We don't have any rights to, and that's why, as we went through the presentation, we're now dealing directly with their marketing teams and their sales teams to have better impact and influence over that. And obviously I can't speak for Telstra, but in order to address the question, I'll comment from my perspective based on our engagement with them, that Telstra elected to go for an all-of company, we are the secure telco type of branding. And so you should be seeing those ads and on TV and newspapers and all sorts of things. Rather than, so we are the secure telco, rather than directly having a crack at that Optus attack. But you know, I can't speak totally for them, so it's a little frustrating for us, and we would love to see them pushing the Telstra branded products based off our technologies off the back of this, and we're working on that. But I'll note, Roger and Alex, that Australia is not our only market, and our lead generation and our pipeline is at an all-time high. So we have been doing an excellent job on lead gen and pipeline over the last 9 months.
Danny, a supplementary question from me.
Mm.
So what are we actually doing in working with the people within Telstra to try and influence change in the way that they address the market?
Well, they plan their marketing campaigns well in advance, and they're not especially nimble at reacting and marketing to things quickly. Like they're planning them 6 to 12 months in advance, their marketing campaigns. So our engagement is about agreeing sales targets and then agreeing what marketing resources we both need to put in to reach those targets. And it's really a medium-term plan. It doesn't happen short-term. So it's medium and long-term. And really how we jointly sell together and how we jointly market together, and what resources need to be applied from each organisation, and what funding needs to be applied from each organisation to grow the sales.
Yeah, it is. I can understand fully the question from Roger and Alex. It must be on every shareholder's mind, given the sort of obviousness of the Optus thing and then the Medibank thing, and on it goes. And it's a dilemma, because how do you? And I think I think maybe it's worthwhile explaining to shareholders, just so there's two ways of emotions to market, if you like. To address the marketplace for Cybercision, which is aimed at the small to medium business, it's really a marketing exercise. It's a sales exercise. It's too big a market, too disparate a market too small a fee from any one particular component or player in that market if we have to approach from a marketing program point of view. And that's, I guess, what you're saying about Telstra's marketing programs. They're actually put in place at least 12 months in advance, because that's the time it takes to get through a marketing program in Telstra. The other thing, which is what Danny's alluding to, is we've got a much closer engagement with the direct Telstra sales teams, and the go-to-market motion that we're working on there is partnering with them to go to larger businesses. So that's hopefully going to bring off some opportunities to drive significant scale in the revenues. But we rely on their sales force, and we rely on their marketing team and their marketing programs in that sort of volume area. Is that a reasonable explanation, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. And the only bit of colour I would add to that is, which relates to my comment that Telstra chose to do a more "we are the secure telco" thing, to get them to do marketing campaigns around individual products, which is what we want, is quite difficult. It's not the norm for them. So it's something that we really have to work together on in order to get our specific product pushed rather than a general brand pushed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We're going well.
Thank you for that. Any other questions here?
No other questions.
Nothing. Thank you very much. So there's no further questions. I move the motion to consider, and if thought fit, that shareholders approve the issue. Sorry, I've done that one. Into the resolutions. Let me now just pause for a minute to allow anyone who hasn't finalised their voting online or here to do so, and then I'll close the poll. Okay, thank you. I declare the poll closed and formally charge Mr. Foster as returning officer to count the votes. After the votes have been counted, the results of the poll will be released to the Australian Stock Exchange and placed on the company's website. That includes the formal business of the meeting. I thank all of you for attending here. It's great to get back face to face and see real people. And I declare the meeting closed. Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.